Hey guys, so I just wanted to talk about one tip that I have for increasing the quality of communication in a relationship. There are many different good strategies, many different good tips for improving communication in general with romantic partners or with other people. But I have one that I want to give you, which is more of a concept, more of sort of an overarching. I never know how to say that. An overarching principle, and that is to increase the odds of having communication. What I mean by this is that a lot of people will try to make a big leap in their relationship. They'll go from not communicating at all, not having good communication in any sense. They'll try to leap from there to, I'm going to enact all of these positive communication strategies. I'm going to use all the skills that I learned online and all these different things and try to leap from here to here. And oftentimes that doesn't work. Oftentimes they'll try to, use a communication strategy like, not insulting, trying to rephrase and paraphrase what their partner says, trying to be empathetic, all these other things that are good communication strategies, but then they end up having a fight again, or the partner shuts down or something like that, and it just doesn't work out. So they say, okay, that technique didn't work. This isn't going to work. We have bad communication. Oftentimes people are in a situation where they just are habitually not communicating. They have a habit of not communicating over time. And one of the things that I think can be really helpful with that is increasing the times that you do have to communicate. What I mean by that is increasing the amount of times that you're together without distractions so that the stage is set for an opportunity to present itself to communicate. You're not always going to be talking about important things, but if you have just a growing habit where you're talking more often, then you're going to be in a situation where if important things do need to be said or important things do come up, you'll have sort of this container that you can work within because you're used to talking to each other. It's very frequent that people fall into this pattern where they're just not used to talking with one another, especially, romantic partners. It's not just about bad communication or good communication, it's about discomfort in communication in general. And one of the best ways to overcome that discomfort in the communication is to just get more practice with it. More practice, more exposure to being with one another without, a task at hand, without, other distractions, and just kind of getting exposed to the feeling of being with someone else, being with this person. And I know it kind of sounds crazy maybe to certain people who may have a more close relationship, but for many people, this isn't the case. Romantic partners oftentimes don't have a really stable sense of being with one another and not having other distractions or other tasks involved in the environment. It's uncomfortable to just sort of sit in silence with somebody or to sort of be expected to make small talk, whatever the case may be. So what I would suggest is trying to increase the amount of exposure you have to one another so that you do have these opportunities that can pop up. So what it might look like is, for one, having dinner together at the dinner table. That's one thing that my wife and I do. We always sit with the kids at the dinner table every night if we can. Oftentimes breakfast and lunch as well. But trying to increase that amount of time that you are spending, eating meals with one another. I know back in the 90s, it was really popular for, families to sit side by side on a couch with TV trays and watch television show. I did that a lot with my family. And nowadays, a lot of times it's more, you may be sitting in the same place, you may be sitting next to each other or with each other at a table, but everybody's on their phone or everybody's doing something else, and there's not just that opportunity to connect. So what I would suggest is making it a point to have as many meals as possible with one another without distractions, without phones, without other things going on, and just sit and eat and talk. Like I said, it doesn't have to be about anything important to start off with. It could be just asking about your day or commenting on the food or sitting in silence and not saying anything. All of those are fine and equally valid. But you want to have that opportunity so that you are able to get used to the feeling of just being together and talking. The phone is a really big one. In other situations, for instance, sitting on the couch together, idly watching TV, a lot of times people will pull out their phones and be absorbed in that. And then you won't actually be absorbed in the same media that you're taking in on the TV together. And that can make it difficult because if you mention something about it or you want to talk about it later, you're not on the same page. And also, it just removes the ability for things to incidentally come up because you're not connected with one another. You're not on the same page enjoying that together. Phones out of the bedroom, taking the phone out of the scenario as often as possible in these situations where you're just kind of spending time together, that helps. But overall, you just want to sort of integrate this principle where you need to spend more time where conversations could occur. And then statistically, if you increase the amount of times that you are spending in that sort of situation where conversations can pop up, conversations can occur, then they're going to be more likely to happen. And you're going to be more well-versed in just talking with one another and having that sort of baseline of communication. And that's really what I suggest. Try to establish that baseline of communication, that ability to talk with one another and the comfort in talking with one another. It's so that when you do have the opportunity, you can integrate some of those positive things. You can do some of those strategies that you've heard about that are good communication strategies. And then when you need to, you can talk about something more serious without just rupturing the whole thing, without having no baseline to start from. So that's the idea I want to leave you with. Just think about the ways, if you are in a relationship or even with family members, with friends, the ways that you can increase the circumstances that lend itself toward communication instead of focusing directly on the communication itself. Just get more practice communicating. All right, thanks.